Tonight I'm making Mediterranean Chicken Orzo Soup, so I'm going to take you guys along with me for the ride. So first I'm going to put on some gloves just because I'm about to work with raw chicken and, well, why not? And so I'm going to take about 2 chicken breasts and just slice those up into cubes. And I have extra chicken, and so I'm just going to prep those as well because I'm going to make chicken salad after this one. So just bear with me. Anyway, ew, that's a bone. How gross. You asked for boneless, skinless chicken breasts and they give you a bone. Nasty. Ugh. Anyway, so chicken, I cut off all the gross stuff like this, just because I personally don't like to look at it. And it's that simple. And so this week was kind of a weird week. My fiance came home from a men's retreat that he was at in Waynesville, North Carolina, and he had a little bit of a cold. So, you know, I was taking care of him for most of the week and stuff like that, and I got everything to make soup, and it was like one of the last things that he wanted, honestly. So, since I have the ingredients for it and he's feeling better, I figured I'm just gonna make it tonight. So now that I trimmed it all of all the nastiness, just gonna simply slice it lengthwise and then horizontally to get a cube. Doesn't really matter the size on the cubes. I think if you need a number, I probably do about 1/2 to 1 inch cubes. Yeah. I'm not really too picky on that, but you know, just have fun with it, honestly. That's what I tell everybody when cooking and stuff like that, is just have fun, you know? Being in the kitchen doesn't have to feel like a chore, especially because it's something that nourishes your body. Hold on, sorry, I felt like my nose was about to run, so I had to take a second. But anyway, like I was saying, being in the kitchen should be fun. You know, the food is nourishing your body, and when you're cooking your own food, you're pretty much like making it exactly how you want. So think about having whatever dish is your favorite, right? And you get to make it exactly how you want. So say there's like a plate where you're like, man, I wish this had a spicy, tangy sauce with it. Make it. Do it. The world is your oyster, you know? So, yeah, it should be fun. Anyway, so one breast is done. Now we're just gonna do the next one. If you hear Marshall running around, my dog, sorry. We just gave him a bath, so he gets the zoomies right after. It's a little Boston Terrier. Cutest dog, honestly. I'd pick him up and have him say hello, but obviously I can't right this second. Maybe later. So same thing with the second chicken breast. You're going to trim it of whatever. You could choose to skip this step, honestly. Doesn't matter. And I'm just gonna slice it lengthwise. And now I'm going to cube it. So sometimes you're gonna end up with pieces like this. That's totally fine. It doesn't really matter. Just bite size, you know? Cube, there's a cube, but sometimes, you know, breasts don't come in rectangles and squares, so you gotta deal with what you got. So let's just finish this one. Okay, so now that that's all done, I'm going to continue on with the rest of the chicken, but first I'm going to just put some olive oil in this pot and set it onto medium-high heat. And once it's kind of thinned out where I can spread it to like cover the bottom, but like not too much, I'm just gonna add in the cubed chicken and get that cooking. So, be right back. Okay, that's done. Sorry, I didn't want to bore you with something else that I was doing. So anyway, so I got it on medium-high heat. The oil is perfect. So now let's add the cubed chicken to the pot. Be careful, you don't want to splash yourself, so just stand nice distance away and rush it on in there. After that, just mix it up for a little. You can turn it on medium heat also. And you're gonna wanna let that cook for about 6 to 8 minutes. And while that's happening, we're just going to get the other parts of the soup ready. So let me get those and I'll be right back again. Okay, so for the next part, while the chicken is cooking, you're gonna wanna take a second and stir it up so it doesn't get stuck to the bottom and everything else. But for now, we're gonna take 2 medium carrots, peel them, chop them up into about 1/4 inch pieces or to your liking. About 3 stalks of celery. This one I feel like is useless. And 1 onion, and we're gonna chop all of that up. So I'm gonna start with the onion just because why not? And I'm just gonna add all of these to the same bowl, because once the chicken is done with the 4 to 6 minutes, we're gonna take the chicken out, and then we're gonna add in another tablespoon of oil, get that all heated up, and then add in all the vegetables with some seasonings, and really get the broth ready and going. Onion skin continuously sticking to me. Anyway, so onion, just gonna chop it. So don't think too much when you're chopping up the veg, especially for a soup. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. You don't have to be a professional chef for it. Honestly, just rough chop, which means you don't have to have a specific size. I know I said 1/4 inch, but you know, if that is not something that you are capable of doing, don't worry about it, don't do it, just do whatever you can. Again, just have fun. I'm a little bit more strict with myself in the kitchen just because, you know, I used to be a chef. I've worked in many kitchens, and so, you know, I like to challenge myself a lot, and so that's just what I do. I don't work in the restaurant industry anymore, but that doesn't mean that my love for cooking went away, you know, and it's still there, but instead of cooking for random people and strangers, I now cook for family, friends, especially my fiance, who absolutely loves it. And no, little secret of mine is cooking is a love language of mine, so, you know, I will cook for you anytime if you are a loved one. Anytime. So once the onion's done, you're just gonna go ahead and do the celery. What I do is cut both ends off, then I cut the actual rib in half, and then I take half a rib and cut that in half, and then just chop that up. Again, not being too specific with the size, right this second at least, probably because I'll show you all the vegetables in a sec. And I don't know, for me, like if I'm watching a cooking video, I want it to look exactly like that cooking video, and sometimes I disappoint myself. So, you know, I'll just give you something. Before I start the carrots, I'm going to give this a nice good stir. The chicken is still a little bit pink, so I'm going to keep that going for a little bit since it's been about 6 minutes. So we'll probably go for the full 8. Anyway, so now we're going to do the carrots, so you're going to want to peel them first. If you don't have a garbage disposal, a fun little hack that I used to do was spread out some plastic wrap and just peel any veg that I had to peel onto the plastic wrap because it made for easy cleaning. But since I have a garbage disposal, I now just put it right on in the sink. So now that they're all peeled, I'm going to cut off the ends like that. So then I'm going to cut those in half, what's left. So I'm going to have 4 little nubs, I guess you could say. And then I'm going to cut those nubs in half lengthwise. And I personally like half moons. I don't like a diced carrot. So I'm just gonna slice these up. Ever since I was a little kid, you know, like chicken noodle soup and all that stuff, I don't know, there's just something about having that carrot to bite into. You know, everything else could be small diced pieces, but the carrot always had to be bigger. So that's what I do. Now for the carrots, you're gonna kind of want to make sure that they're the same thickness, just so they cook at the same speed. You know, you don't want to have something that's like this thick and something that's this thin, because then the thin one is going to be really, really cooked and the thick one is not going to be. So this is where the cutting kind of does count, you know. If it's like this and then this, like, I mean, You probably can't even see the difference when I'm doing that with the camera, but you know, that obviously doesn't matter. Big difference is what matters there. So there we go. So see how these are like really thin compared to this? I'm just gonna toss these. There's just no point, they're not gonna give any really bite to them, so here's what it is. I like to stir up the vegetables in the bowl. I don't know why, don't ask me, don't have to. So that's what they look like after. Now we're going to take the chicken out of the pot and just set that aside. So this is what the chicken should look like at this point. Not really too appetizing, but whatever. It'll be in a soup. And so now I'm just gonna add in another tablespoon of olive oil to the pot and get that heated up on medium-high heat. So the olive oil is heated through. So now I'm just gonna add the veg. I'm going to put it on medium heat at this point. Then you're just going to want to season it with some salt and pepper. Probably like half a teaspoon salt and a quarter teaspoon of pepper. I like pepper, so I'll probably do equal parts salt and pepper. And then we're gonna add about half a teaspoon of dried oregano. Now we're going to cook that for about 4 to 6 minutes. So while the vegetables are, my dog just, again, zoomies, cooking, you're going to want to keep stirring them and start to let them soften for the most part. For me, I like to go a little bit closer to the 6-minute mark, and I also put the lid on because it helps with the steaming of them and everything else. And so normally what you can do for this recipe is add in white wine when it's ready to scrape up any bits that are at the bottom left over of chicken or vegetable. However, for me, I don't drink or anything, so I just use chicken broth. So, fun fact, if a recipe calls for white wine, use chicken broth as a substitute. if it calls for red wine, beef stock is a substitute. So never feel like you have to use alcohol in any recipe. You just don't. Again, that's all based on preference. Since this is a chicken-based soup, I'm just going to stick with the chicken broth and everything else. So once the veggies are ready, we are also going to add in a 1/4 cup of chicken broth, scrape up the bottom a little bit, you know, and get all that flavor incorporated. And then we're going to add in the rest of our chicken broth, which I usually do about 4 to 6 cups, which is about, you know, 32 ounces or a little bit more. Each cup is 8 ounces liquid wise. So yeah, I'm just gonna take a 1/4 cup out of this and then just dump the rest of it. Add in 1 bay leaf and sprinkle some dried rosemary. If you prefer fresh, just chop it up if you want and add that in, and then we're gonna bring it to a boil. So I'll let you know when we get there. So we're just about there, so I'm gonna go ahead, crack this baby open and add in a 1/4 cup. I'm just going to scrape the bottom, and I can see a little bit of brownness on the bottom, most likely from the chicken. So I'm just going to go ahead and scrape that up. Scrape down the sides of the pot for any onions or celery that may have stuck up there while I was stirring. Give this a nice stir. And now I'm just going to add in the rest of the chicken broth, 1 bay leaf, and about a teaspoon of rosemary. I actually just thought about it too. I have this container of chicken stock, and I'm actually just gonna add it. Why not? Extra broth will never hurt nobody. And now I also emptied my fridge of a little bit of space. Let's get in a bay leaf. And I'm gonna use this again, 1 teaspoon of rosemary. Now give that a good stir and cover it, put the temperature on high, and allow this to come to a boil. And then we'll go from there. Here we go. So once it comes to a boil, we're going to add in our orzo pasta and let that cook. And so we're just gonna add a cup. You could do a little bit more if you want, but not too much because it will absorb the broth. So if you want your soup to be soup, definitely don't do too much. And sorry if you hear my TV in the background, the Gators game is on. Super excited about football season. If you are too, let me know. And yeah, and I was just laughing when I started this back up because the Cheez-Its commercial was on, and I absolutely, like, I don't know what it is, every time it plays and that one Cheez-It is like, I woke up feeling the cheesiest, coach. It gets me, literally kills me. I'm not really sure why. It's just like one of the funniest things in the world. So this is still not at a boil, but I'm just going to get my pasta ready. And so I'm going to actually measure out a cup because in this specific soup, I like it to be soup. It's such a flavorful soup, honestly, and I'm so happy that it is becoming the fall season. Even though I'm in Florida, I'm in the northeast part of Florida, so we still have like cold weather. Definitely nothing like New York, Connecticut, or anything up there. But it still does get pretty chilly, which is nice. And so we're gonna be making a lot more soups and all the fall things and everything else. I actually am going to be making another video about sourdough discard cinnamon rolls. I haven't made them in so long. My fiance absolutely loves them, so I'll be making another video about that and finally doing a baking one other than bread. So come back for that. And so you don't miss it, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my page, and again, comment if you try any of my recipes or if you've ever had anything like what I'm making or anything. If you like football, you know. I love people. We can have a conversation. But I'll see you in a sec. Alrighty. We are boiling on up here. So we are going to add in the orzo pasta. Give it a nice little stir. Then we're going to lower the heat to a simmer. Cover it on up and let it cook for about 15 to 18 minutes. And at this point, I'm going to put a timer on because football is on and I do tend to get distracted. So I'll see you in 15 minutes. So I just realized that my mic might have turned off. Yeah, it did again. So hopefully you guys can hear me. But yeah, so while this is also cooking for those 15 to 18 minutes, you want to make sure that you are also stirring occasionally. And yeah, and we're just going to wait till the pasta is cooked till tender. So yeah, so we still have about 4 minutes left for the 15 minutes, so I'll check back in then. Just charged it a little bit. So the timer just went off. I'm gonna check it real quick. Looks like it's incorporating pretty well. At this point, you can choose to take out that bay leaf. I always have a hard time finding one, but actually, tonight, I found it. So we're gonna take that out, and now we're gonna gonna add back in our chicken. Stir that up. And we're gonna let that start reheating for about 3 minutes, which would add on to the 15 minutes that I just cooked the pasta anyway, so ends up working out. We're just gonna keep that going. I'm gonna cover it up again, and we'll go from there in 3 minutes. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what it looks like at this point. I wish you could smell it because it just smells absolutely delicious. But we're going to move on to the next step now. Okay, so now that the chicken is all heated through, you know, you saw what it looks like. It smells absolutely delicious, but we're gonna kick it up a notch. So what that means is I'm going to take this lemon, I'm going to zest it, and then I'm gonna add some juice. So to give you a little idea of how much, I guess, measurements, we're gonna do about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of lemon zest and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So first, I'm also just gonna roll the lemon on my countertop while pressing down, just so it releases the juices a little bit. And then I'm gonna take my little thing, my little tool, my little zester, handy dandy, and I'm gonna take it and starting from this end and work my way to this end. I'm just gonna scrape. And so you just wanna, when you're doing lemon zest, you just want to zest it like, here's the rind. You want to go just to the white part. You don't want to get any of that white part in it. There's just no point. So just be cautious. It takes like about 2 scrapes, 3 scrapes. Well, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Really? What I mean by that. And you're just going to keep turning it around. And I'm going to flip it around and do this last side. And so now this is what my lemon looks like. There's still some on it, but I don't need that. And so my lemon zest tends to get caught on it, so give it a little tap. And then I also just wipe it off and flick it on in. And then one more tap. Now I'm just gonna cut this in half. And I'm gonna let it drip through my fingers because there's obviously seeds. And nobody wants a mouthful of lemon seeds when they're eating anything. I'm just gonna add the rest of this. You could do half a lemon to a full lemon. It's up to you. Play around with it. See what you like best. I think the lemon is what really makes this dish anyway, so it adds to the scent and the taste. And that's good. This half had a lot more juice. Alright, now we're going to give this a nice good stir. And at this point, you're pretty much good to go to eat it. My fiance is not home yet, So I'm going to wait for him. So now I'm just gonna put it on a nice low simmer and cover it back up. And I'm going to get what I'm serving it with, which is just a loaf of bread that I'm gonna cut in half and put some butter in it, wrap it up in tin foil, and bake it in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes to get it nice and crispy and that butter melted. And that's what we're gonna have with this tonight. So when I make the dishes for dinner, I will gladly show you what it all looks like when it's all together. See you soon.